up until several years ago, they thought the giant squid out of Japan, off the coast of Japan, was, giant squid was a cryptid. It was mythological. Over time had reported these creatures, that can engulf ships and the Kraken and things like that. And,
watching that thing disappear.
Yes.
It was almost like a straight line. It was like it went behind a straight line and it was gone. Just completely gone.
And it did. It was like it slipped into it went into a house or something. It just all of a sudden it just went zoop, and
like it went behind a wall.
Like it went behind a wall. That's where people start to ask the question, is it possible that there are some sort, and I know this is a stretch, but is it possible that they could be going into some sort of a portal or interdimensional being that can move into, thank you very much, Vesta, stepping into another place, for lack of a better word? Hey everybody, welcome to JFree906 and the Research of Bigfoot podcast. And that's what we're doing here tonight. Mike Owen sitting over there in the co-host chair. How you doing tonight, Mike?
Excellent.
And so this one, Mike and I, we kind of went through and talked quite a bit about Expedition Bigfoot. We kind of took through the last 3 seasons of that show and kind of got things rolling with that. For this particular, doing our research, we had Russell Acord on the show, and Russell was fantastic. As a matter of fact, I've got a couple of his books right here. I'm still reading this one. This is the first one. It's the Bitterroot series. Now, these are they're novels. They're not research books or something like that. They're more novels, but very, very well done. Russell Acord did an awesome job, at least on this one. I haven't read the second one yet, and he's got a third one that's coming out here pretty soon, but really, really good. They're available on Amazon. But yeah, I've really enjoying it as I read through them. And I'm a kind of a slow reader anyway. But tonight we have a very special treat because as we finished up with Bigfoot, now we're waiting for season 4 to start. And so, what we decided to do, and I talked about this a little bit, is to invite people on who have had some sort of Bigfoot experience, whether that be by seeing something that they thought was Bigfoot or actually, standing right in front of them, whatever it may be. Or I tell you, honestly, there's a lot of times where we're finding out, and Mike Owen will attest to this, is that sometimes people are very in tune with different aspects of, I was going to say the paranormal, but feelings and things. And I tell you what, they're all valid. They're all absolutely valid. And because we can't say what the level of experience is, truly, we can't put a finger on that's not an experience, but that is. So we're here to this. And this is what I like to do. And I've said this before, folks, I have not had my own experience where I would say, I think that was a Bigfoot. I've said that before, and I'll keep saying it until it happens for me. But I'm using this platform to research all of this. And I think, Mike Owen, you're kind of in that same boat, but you've done a lot more research than I have.
Yeah, I'm not a field researcher. I've not had any experiences or anything like that. I just started listening to the Sasquatch Chronicles podcast with Wes Germer. And over time, after listening to many of those encounters, started to notice consistencies and some pretty minor details that were very consistent. And so, as an engineer, my brain started racking all this data into kind of a mental database. And I'm like, there's too many consistencies he's up to almost 1,000 episodes. I've listened to 700. So two guests per episode, about 1,400 experiences.
Wow.
That's way too many to be that consistent.
Exactly.
And there's got to be something to it. I don't know what they're seeing. I don't know if that part is real, but I know the data is real. I know the footprints are real. I know the evidence is real. And so that's kind of what got me started looking deeper into it. And, the David Paulides has an excellent Bigfoot series. He's the missing 411 guy. Dr. Meldrum has an excellent book. Survivor Man has an excellent series. Les Stroud. So I started kind of looking at those guys as the sort of experts, and then obviously Expedition Bigfoot I'd been watching. So that's kind of my background. It's maybe a little bit more limited to North America, and people that would be around here, but that's kind of my background, and so it's just trying to learn as much as I can, and hope that someday we come up with the definitive evidence that proves things.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're doing here tonight. Very similar to what you were talking about there with Pleiades, having people on. That's now where I'm at with this. We will discuss Bigfoot, Expedition Bigfoot Season 4. When it comes out, we will start nailing down and going through each and every episode, just like we do with Skinwalker Ranch, which is tomorrow night. I'll be talking about Skinwalker Ranch Season 4, Episode 1 tomorrow night. But also Curse of Oak Island, Beyond Oak Island, all that, how we break down the episode and we dive in a little deeper and really tackle it a little more. Until that happens, I'm inviting people on who have had experiences. Now, Miriam, welcome, by the way, Mike and Miriam. Thank you very much for coming on here tonight, both of you. Miriam was actually an insider, is an insider, and Mike Owen is he's a moderator for the Skinwalker Ranch Insiders. And I met Miriam when we were out at Phenomicon last year in Vernal, Utah, and it was really great. I was so happy to meet you and some of the other folks, the other insiders, and everybody that I met out there. And I had you on as when I do the Insiders Insights for Skinwalker Ranch show. Yep. As you came on as my guest, and then you told me, I don't remember if it was before or after the show or during it or something.
It was during it. Yep.
Yeah, you mentioned you had Bigfoot experience, and I thought, okay, we got to have you on for that. So thank you for coming. We'll get started with you in just a moment.
Thank
and
you.
Mike Lesh, I mean, you and I got to meet you through Tommy G. Now, Tommy G is an insider also. And you, he told me about you, and he said you've had some experiences. And I thought, okay, I got to get this guy on the show. Now, you're also involved with Tommy G in a different realm as well. We'll talk about it just briefly, but it's called Sky 360. Do you want to tell us just a little bit about that before we get started?
Yeah, Sky 360 is a outgrowth of a project that was originally called Sky Hub, and what it was during the pandemic, a couple of guys down in, I think, Houston came up with this idea for a way to identify and track UFOs. And so they set up the original hardware, and some other people got involved in it. And there was some falling out between the original guys, and they had to go back to work eventually. And so they were not going to continue it. Well, Richard Geoff and Christian Ambrose and so on over in Austria and Germany decided to continue the project at Sky 360, and I am thrilled that they did. It's actually insanely difficult to coordinate a bunch of volunteers worldwide trying to produce the hardware and the software to do this. And so their website is sky360.org, and it's worth popping by, taking a look. And I'm basically helping with some of the documentation on it and doing the initial build out of their UAP tracking stuff. And it's being interesting. I came across it because I was actually looking for some stuff on robotics, and I found the previous project, the Sky Hub project, that was right as it was going away, and Sky 360 was materializing. So I caught him right dead in the middle of that, and I've been following the project and working with them since. So
it's really cool. It's like a UAP UFO tracking system. Yeah sort of.
And it's part of the idea. Just sorry, real quick, part of the idea is they want to get a bunch of these things built, and network them together, which I'm former voice and data communication network engineer. So that part of it I have pretty good handle on how to do, but all the other stuff is like, oh, it's all new to me. Especially the smarts that are going to say, oh, this is something of interest or not. It's something we know it is, and so we're not worried about it. And so again, it's interesting, it's complicated, and I really can't wait to get one up on the roof here so that see if there is anything running around here, because like I said, there's a lot more strange things going on around here than just Bigfoot running around. So it's so it's like, hey, maybe I can catch some better evidence for it.
What part of the country do you live in, Mike?
I live in southern Washington State.
Washington State. There you go.
That's a very Bigfoot hotspot.
Yeah, it sure is, Miriam. You're right.
Well, I'll narrow it down for you a little bit. If you go back to Kenneth Arnold, his sighting in like 1949, that was where the term flying saucer got originated from. Mm-hmm. The direction he said they were heading, would have brought him probably more or less over my neighborhood. A few minutes after he saw him. Now I wasn't here at the time or anything like that, but they were heading this way, and it turns out one of the other places that they would have passed right by is Mount Adams, and Mount Adams is known for being a unusual event hotspot. So, just
you're in a great spot.
Like I said, I didn't plan it that way. Just I moved out here. I was working in downtown Portland, Oregon at the time, and I
did that too. I'm sorry about that for you. Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't so bad then. But I don't I'm kind of allergic to urban areas anyway. So I moved, like I said, I bought this place, had no clue what I was getting into. And, it's long periods of no big deal. And all of a sudden something very strange will happen, or there'll be periods of time when, things get very odd around here, so anyway, so that's kind of the fast story.
Yeah, I tell you what, and we're going to have a special show coming up very soon. We're going to do an Insider's Insights because this sky360.org is working with also Skinwalker Ranch to a degree. So we're going to be doing an Insider's Insight. Tommy G is part of that. We're going to have him on, and we're going to go through and really get a deep dive into what Sky360 is all about and what they're doing and how they're trying to get it out around the world. So we'll be talking about that as we go along. And so I wanted to let you know, too, that go through some of the housekeeping here. If you like the show tonight, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you can. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and please subscribe and click on that notification bell. If you do that, it'll tell you right away when we go live with some new content, or if I upload a new video or something like that, it tells you right away so you can come and check it out. Please share this with all of your friends and family. And like I said, if you like the content, please give us a thumbs up for that. It helps out a lot with the YouTube algorithms, kind of gets us out there a little bit more. And the Bigfoot side of things is a little bit, we got the Skinwalker Ranch is just taking off and doing really well, and so is the Oak Island and stuff like that. The Bigfoot is kind of making its way, and I know when we get into season 4, Mike and I talking about that, it's going to pick up and get going as well. I tell you, and so I'm really looking forward to some of that happening. And if you want to help support the show, we also have our Patreon channels, patreon.com. That's Patreon, patreon.com. And it's JFree906 there if you want to help support the show. Or you can buy one of these nice tumblers that we got right here that's got the logo. Oh, look there. Mike's got his going. There's a link for these down below in the description of the show. You can click on that. It takes you right to the website where you can get one of these tumblers and pick your color and all that. And they'll get shipped out to you directly from there. And so I just appreciate that very much for those of you like Mike who have purchased one. I do appreciate it very much. So thank you on that. So let's get started. So, as I was mentioning, the whole Bigfoot thing. Now, Bigfoot is a cryptid. Now, cryptid is one of those, I guess, like a creature. I don't know the actual definition. I think
it's just unrecognized animal.
Thank you. An unrecognized animal. And as
meaning
you saw,
unrecognized to science.
Yeah, John Edwards mentioned in the intro there, he was talking about the giant squid, which used to be considered a cryptid. Now we know that they do exist. So we're hoping down the road at some point that we're going to get some more information on Bigfoot. And because of the fact that so many people, like Mike was mentioning earlier, have had experiences, that's the part that really intrigues me the most, is these experiences. And they come in all shapes and forms and sizes. And so I thought we'd try to, do a little bit of ladies first, if you don't mind, Miriam. And, tell us a little bit about, how did you get interested in this? And tell us a little bit about the experience that you have had, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, I've seen like Bigfoot documentaries growing up and stuff like that, and always thought like maybe either are they real or not, or are they more something like spiritual that people are encountering? And I've always noticed like maybe they're more in the Pacific Northwest. I'm way on the other side of the country, and the encounter that I remember having, that me and my family have had, me and my parents, we were like summer of 2009. We were having like a barbecue, like at nighttime, and then I think at the end of the barbecue, I remember my mom going in the house, and then my dad and I were sitting out in the big screen house that we had next to the barbecue grill, and all of a sudden we heard something like a howl directly behind us. It almost sounded human. It didn't sound like a coyote. I've grown up in the woods. I've heard coyotes. This was nothing like a coyote, and both Dad and I are like yelling at it, like, get out of here, and then it stopped after that. And then we were both talking about it, and Mom came back out, and Dad and I went back in the house, and she had mentioned she felt like something was watching her when she was sitting outside in the screen house waiting for the grill to cool down and just preparing everything and getting it back in the house.
How far away do you think the howl was coming from?
How far away? It almost felt close. It was like it was watching us right from the woods.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was that something that, did you hear any other sounds, or was it just a howl? Did you hear any kind
of? It was
like...
just the howl we heard. Everything after that, there was just silence after that.
Wow. Now, I know you shared with me a little clip of the 1994 Ohio howl. Was it similar to that one that you heard?
No, it wasn't anything like a deeper. It was higher pitched.
Oh, really?
Yep. And it almost sounded human too. So we were like getting angry. Like, is this a person trespassing on our property, trying to scare us? So that's why we were yelling at it, like, get out of here. But later on, after we've had some other weird encounters, we were finding out that it could be a Bigfoot hanging around our property. There's like another encounter that my dad actually had. I think it was like a few weeks later. He was on his way out of the house towards his car to go to work. Then he heard these huge, big footsteps, like coming from the backyard, like two, one, boom, boom. That's it. And that freaked him out. I've never seen him that scared. He's normally very calm. But he drove out of the driveway very quickly and called us and telling us, don't go outside. There's something outside. Wow. Just don't let Miriam go outside. Wow. He was terrified. I've never seen him like that.
Wow. You pick up any smells of any type? People always talk about, and this is something I have not experienced, is the smell, but they talk about the smell, especially with the males having a very distinct, very strong odor to them. Anything like that?
I've smelled something like almost sounded like a odor of rotten eggs and like a dead animal. And around that time when I'm smelling that, I would feel like I'm being watched, like something's watching me.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Oh. That's right. Something you mentioned, people talk about the Pacific Northwest. A lot of people say, oh, that's, where they all happen and everything happens. But I tell you, and this is a map right here, folks. This is on the internet. It's just called, you can look for it. It's Bigfoot sightings, the BMP, Bigfoot map. You can bring this up and look at it, and you see those dots everywhere. So it's not just confined to the Pacific Northwest. It's everywhere. Except for, even you look at some of the places, like look around Utah, you got to be even around Utah and whatnot. So it could happen. anywhere. And I'm going to be up in this area in Michigan, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of research while I'm up there here in a couple of weeks. But I mean, you're talking Pennsylvania, Ohio, everywhere. Except for some of the areas where there's not a whole lot of forest. Everybody everybody kind of assumes that they want to hang around with the forest because they have better places to hide. So you would assume that they're going to hang around in the forested areas. But I mean, so it doesn't really matter. Almost anywhere you live in North America, there's sightings someplace. So that's something to consider for sure. Even in some of the bigger cities, and I find that hard to believe. But then again, some of the places where I've seen the most deer, you think about Michigan. I'm originally from Michigan, and I've seen a lot of deer. But I tell you, I was astounded by going into like the downtown Pittsburgh area, not so much downtown, but I mean houses everywhere in the neighborhoods, and there's so many deer around, and you don't see them except for when they're in somebody's front yard eating. But I mean, where do they sleep at night? So I mean, is it possible that a cryptid of some sort could be hanging around in a city and just be unseen most of the time? Absolutely, it's possible. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because of what you mentioned. It could happen anywhere, truly. I mean,
Oh yeah. Yep.
to get a sighting of something like that. Wow, that's incredible. So, and how long you said that was 2009? You said that
was summer of 09, I believe.
Wow. Here's a question for you, Miriam. Have you ever had premonitions or other experiences, ghost, demons, or past lives?
I've had some paranormal encounters when I was younger. When I was about 8 years old, I had a shadow figure end up tapping me on the shoulder and waking me up. Oh, really? Oh, yeah. That was probably one of the scariest things I've experienced. I slept with a nightlight until I was 19. That's how frightened I was. It's something. Something. Nobody was in the room, and something touched me, and that was kind of scary.
Yeah. I can only imagine that. Yeah, I've got one of the shows that we do coming up here. I'm going to talk about when I was just in Texas. I was in the panhandle of Texas near Palo Duro Canyon. Basically, I was right on the rim of the canyon. And the last 5 days that I spent there, just last week, I had several paranormal experiences. Several, and one actually stopped me in my tracks. I'm going to save that for another show. But literally, I was walking at night with a flashlight and saw something that stopped me dead in my tracks, and I'm staring right at something. We'll talk about that in another show. So, but you get that. I know exactly what you mean by you have that experience, especially when you're younger. You have something like that scares you so profoundly. And yeah, I mean, you probably remember it just like it was yesterday, don't you?
Oh God, yeah. I pray just before going to sleep every night, and that's kept it away. So
there you go. That's a very good thing to do. Another question for you from Linda. Looks like, have you ever used a Ouija board before?
No.
Okay, good. I was going to say good on that one because.
I've heard even non-believers. I'm a Christian, and even non-believers I've mentioned don't mess with the Ouija board, so I've not gone near it.
Yeah, good deal. I don't ever. I've seen people use them before, and usually bad things result from it. So I would suggest to stay away from those.
There was a recent case where there was a bunch of teens that needed to be hospitalized after using the Ouija board. This was recent that this happened. This was in the UK.
Doesn't surprise me. Yep, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Miriam, the howl that you heard, you said it was higher end pitch. Was the how long was it? Would you say time wise? And I mean.
Probably like 2 or 3 minutes.
In one breath, or did it howl multiple times?
No, one breath.
Total duration and just one long scream or howl or whatever it was.
It was like one howl that I remember. One.
Wow.
That's pretty incredible.
I've heard.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
I've heard a couple times. At times where I've heard howls, sometimes I've heard them do it a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I've been outside putting up Christmas decorations, and I've heard a high pitch twice. And I was looking around to see what was making that noise, and I couldn't see anything at all. But
Do you have woods nearby?
Yes, we live right in the woods.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, wow.
There's like woods surrounding our house completely. There's houses on either side of us, but we're kind of quite a ways apart.
Have you ever thought about putting up cameras?
Yeah.
I have had trail cameras up for a while, and I know one incident, the trail cameras actually batteries drained, and this was probably a little bit after I've had another encounter during a snowstorm.
Wow.
There was
you were going to ask a question, Mike, about the neighbors.
Yeah, if your neighbors, do you know if your neighbors have ever heard anything strange like that or had any experiences?
We've not talked to our neighbors about it. Everybody around here kind of keeps to themselves, so I'm not sure. There are neighbors, like people like up the road from us, that have put like cutouts of Bigfoot like in front of their house. So it could be somebody having an encounter.
It's a popular figure.
Someone stuck that on a tree in front of their house near the road around Halloween. I've noticed that someone did that. Thought that was kind of funny.
Robot has another question for you. As a Christian, do you believe your faith can overcome these attacks or these experiences?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. I'm the same way. I'm a Christian also, and I believe that as well. So there you go. Something, and this was a comment made by April over on the Facebook side, and she said that with the loss of habitation, we may start seeing them in the cities, and it's a possibility for sure.
If we're seeing bear more often than normal interstate, then we're seeing we could see Bigfoot more coming to more populated areas as well because of the loss of people are like moving in more and more people are moving into the woods. Yeah, it's becoming more populated.
Well, and they're certainly opportunists. I mean, they'll come in and raid food from a campground. There's lots of stories of people that in tents, and regardless of how high you put the food, if you're in bear country, they'll raid it. So I don't know why they wouldn't go into cities and raid dumpsters or look for food that's easy access, no different than any other animal.
Mm-hmm. Exactly right. Wow. So what's the next step for you, Miriam? Are you going to continue doing any kind of research, looking into this on your own or with a group? I know you have a Facebook group page. You can talk about that real quick. And I did not get the link for it, but I will. But go ahead, please. It's
called My Bigfoot Diaries. It's pretty much put everything, all my experiences down that I remember in the group, and anything else that comes about, I write it down in the Facebook group, and I invite anybody else who's had encounters, whether it's Bigfoot or whatever, and just share their experience in the group as well.
Yeah,
so it's called My Bigfoot Diaries.
Yeah, I just put it in the chat there, and it's very good. I'm a member of it, and you just got that started here not that long ago, and you've already got quite a few members, and it's a place. And again, this just like this podcast is. It's a place where you can go and share stories and experiences and find out information from other people without the scrutiny of or being laughed at or anything like that. It's a place just like this podcast where you can come and talk about these types of things without having to worry about being drilled down or laughed at or whatever you may be. Because, this is one of those things where, like I said earlier in the show when we got started, that I'm doing research on this, and by doing so, having people come on and share their experiences. So, and just same thing for Miriam's group. My Bigfoot Diaries is a place where you could go and share and talk and exchange ideas and all of that. So that's a great thing. I appreciate you starting that, quite honestly.
Thank you.
Yeah. So check that out, anybody, if you want to be part of that. It's called My Bigfoot Diaries. And also we have ours, and this, John Edwards and I, we started this, our Facebook group page, for this type of thing. It's called Beyond Our World. And it is a place where we share all kinds of different things, paranormal, UFO, UAP, Bigfoot, cryptids, other types of cryptids, anything that might be considered beyond our world. We get into discussions on there about out-of-body experiences and mind over matter and doing the remote viewing and all that kind of stuff. We talk about all that in there because it's all very interesting to me, and I want to share and get ideas from other people and hear about those experiences. So that one, ours is called Beyond Our World, and there's a link for it down below in the description. So wow. So yeah, I'm really glad you have that. And like I said, well, hopefully the group will continue to grow, and are you going to go out in the field at all and do any kind of field work?
Well, I've been trying I got connected with a local Bigfoot researcher in my state, and he's been real busy with his own podcasts, and I've been wanting to go out and try to maybe do a Bigfoot hunt, maybe locally.
There you go.
He mentioned he's going to try to put find audio recorders and put it around our property. So he'll probably get to it when he can.
Now you shared a picture with me, and I'm just I was trying to find it real quick. Hang on just a minute. Let me pull that up. And you can tell us about this real quick, and then we'll jump over to Mike. Where did it go? Here we go. There we go. I found it. All right. So I'm going to share this real quick with everybody as I get it over onto the screen. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but let's go ahead and bring this up. Now, we got your foot right here, obviously. I'm assuming that's your foot. And then this right here, is that a print you found?
It was a print that I had noticed in the backyard. And this was during the day, the night before. Mom and I have heard or felt something walking around the house. And then this was actually close to the deck. And the night before, I felt something was right underneath the deck and actually saw eye shine.
Oh,
and
really?
That freaked me out. So the next day I went out to see if I could see any footprints or something. And then I found that. I had to take a photo of it. We sent it to my sister, and she had enhanced it the best she could and cleaned the picture up just so that footprint can.
Yeah, it kind of looks like she made a little like a blurry outline here, and you can kind of see some like toes. Well, there goes my mouse is all freaking out. But yeah, you can kind of see some like toes or across the top, and then like a heel area down here on the bottom. Wow. So nobody was walking around Bigfoot or barefoot. I was going to say barefoot around there. That would
Yeah, most of the time, all our encounters was after Dad had gone to work. He works third shift. Another time, Mom and I were just like sitting watching TV, and we heard something walking around the house. And then, so we just turned the TV off, turned everything off just to listen. And we kept hearing something tap on the front door a couple times.
Not tapping on the door, not that one. That's like Scream, the movie. Some of those horror movies are, oh man. Ugh, okay, wow. All right, I tell you what. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Now, I'm sure you've shared this story on your Facebook group page a little bit too.
Yeah. Everything that I remember, I've wrote down as mainly document everything that's gone on our property.
Wow, that is really cool, man.
So, Robot had a question about scat. There is a section on scat in Dr. Meldrum's book. I think part of the issue is it doesn't ever yield any DNA unless it's extremely fresh. But there was an expert that reviewed some samples, and he found some seeds that were in water plant vegetation. Bigfoot has been witnessed pulling water plants up and eating the roots. And the seeds that he found were from a water plant, and the only other known animal to eat that same plant is in Asia, and it's a pig. And he was, like I've said before, sometimes it's the most interesting thing to me is specialty scientists' reaction to things that they see related to Bigfoot, where they know that no one else is going to know something like that. No one else is going to think to put seeds in scat like that, to fake it. Right. So that can only mean one thing. It's real.
Yeah.
So he was a little upset by that. But there are people that look at it. I think it's harder to get much information from.
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of people chiming in for you there, Miriam. You rock, Miriam.
Yeah.
Best of luck with your adventures. There you go.
Yeah,
Where
I
do you
agree,
need-
Renee. Maybe they're probably watching me, looking out for me. That's
Yep.
probably it.
Yep. You never know. That's wild. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing that, because a lot of times, like I said, people don't want to, they and those documents, when I showed that map earlier, and that shows the people who have actually told their story, as Mike Owen and I have discussed before, there's probably a lot of people that have not shared their story because they don't want the ridicule.
Yeah.
So, how many more are out there that just hasn't been shared? Brings up a good
Yeah.
question on that too, doesn't it? So, Mike, Mr. Mike, tell us a little bit about how you got it, how you got involved in all of this, and what kind of experiences have you had?
Well, basically, prior to my moving out where I now live, if I ever thought about Sasquatch or Bigfoot or anything like that, to me it was just hunting story where it gets bigger every time you tell it, and I caught a fish that was this big,
Yeah.
and so and that's all I've ever thought about it. Well, I moved out here in roughly November, about 19, I don't remember exactly, about 1991, 92. And so, went through the winter. The following spring, when it, finally quit raining a little bit, I was busy putting up a metal garden shed right next to my house. Okay.
Mhm.
And I basically had the four corners of it up and some cross beams and whatnot. And all of a sudden, from the north east of where I was doing this, I suddenly heard a bunch of dogs barking up in the woods, beyond the tree line of the house. And actually, I did bring a couple of pictures if we want to. Yeah, can we get that first one up? That's
Yep. Mhm.
yeah, that one. Okay. And is my cursor showing there?
No, we can't see
Presumably.
yours, so you'll have to guide me on
Oh,
this. Oh, I
okay.
can't
Well, that
actually.
spot.
No, that's right. Yeah, I can't
Okay.
because
Well,
unless
what
it's
it
on
is,
my
that's
screen. Yep. Go ahead.
okay. Okay. Well, basically, that's an overhead from Google Earth or Google Maps.
Mhm.
North is more or less to the top, and
Okay.
to the bottom, or not, just off the, it'll be the south west corner. There's a little black spot there, a little black square. That's actually the shed I was putting up at the time. Okay,
Okay.
and so my line of sight was limited alongside the house there. And the other thing where you see the tracks to the just past that, that's actually
Yes.
from last year. I had several of my trees came down with root rot, and there's nothing you can do to cure it. So I had to have them brought down because they were starting to drop some pretty big branches on the roof and things like that. So
Yep.
very sad to have to do that, but it's really no choice. And but anyway, where I actually saw them from that little black square, if you look just straight north, the tree line was a little bit closer than it shows in the picture there. But
Mhm.
basically, let me think about how I want to describe this here real quick. Where those other two little white spots to the northeast are there, those are actually a couple of tents. They weren't there at the time.
Okay. Yep.
And let me see. Let me change pictures here on you.
All right. It might show your mouse. I don't know. I didn't see your mouse moving on there, but
Okay. Okay. Well, let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we can.
yeah, go ahead and bring up another one, and I'll share it.
Exactly. Let me. Oh, get on there, and we want that one. Okay. Okay. Yeah. See if we can get that one up.
Oh, and there we go.
Okay.
All right. Good.
Yeah. Now this is looking to the northeast. Okay.
Okay.
And where all this barking, like I said, the tree line and the underbrush was a lot closer down, like right around in here. I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but it was
No.
just coming slightly closer. Okay. Well, the other thing over here by this barn, there's a tree stump here. That tree stump was actually still the tree. It's about 4 feet in diameter, and there was a lot of underbrush growing around it that I just never had cut back. Well, anyway, up in the woods here, looking in this direction, okay, I started hearing these dogs bark. Now, for some reason, I have the impression there were like six dogs or so, and I'm also fairly convinced they were domestic dogs. Okay.
Mhm.
And they're barking and barking and barking and barking and barking and barking. I mean, this went on for quite a while. I'm going to say a total for the whole thing about 20 minutes, but, you know, um, but anyway, and, you know, I'm a little concerned because, you know, hunting dogs, at that time, it was legal to hunt bear here in Washington State with dogs. And what they
Mhm.
do, when what I consider significantly unsportsmanlike conduct, would be they use the dogs to tree the bears, and then the hunter
Right.
comes along and just shoots them out of the tree. Which, again, I don't, you want to make it a
I
sport.
don't like that
You
either.
give the
Yeah.
bear some. Yeah, well, you give the bear some hunting dogs and a rifle also, and see who come. Let them go slug it out. But anyway, looking in this direction, I did not see any dogs. I did not see any animals of any kind. It was very loud and gave me the impression it was just right inside the tree line. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And so, I'm a little concerned because I really hadn't unpacked and I didn't have any of my firearms unpacked at the time, and if they decided I was the next meal or something, it's going to be nasty. But they were all just somewhere back up in these trees and quite loud. Now, the other thing is that my water supply is up there. I'm on a spring up the hill. And so
Oh,
it's going to attract wildlife of all sorts. It's the local
wow.
watering hole for all kind of varmints. And I've seen mountain lions up there,
Oh, wow.
deer, obviously, elk occasionally, um, and so on. So, it is, we are on the edge of the wild here. And so, like I said, it just kept barking and barking and barking and barking. Well, all of a sudden, one of those dogs yelped like it had got hit, bit, something. Okay. All the dogs went dead quiet. Now, at that point in
Wow.
time, let me get this other screen up here.
All right.
Get this other picture up here. Share. I'm
That's
getting
worse
the
to
hang of this
me
thing.
when the dogs are barking. That's one thing, but when everything goes silent, that's when I get worried.
And that's more or less what happened.
That's
It's
what
more
Russell
eerie.
Acord was talking about that. And matter of fact,
Yeah.
all of them. What was that, Miriam?
I just mentioned it's more eerie when
Yes.
it's silence.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's
For sure.
more or less exactly what was going on. Now, this picture is from several years later, so the house was still sided and this barn red, and this is where I was actually rebuilding this part of the house. But you see the tree line is just right back in, behind the house. Now, what happened, like I said, I'm standing there kind of because all of a sudden the dogs got, I just suddenly silent. And basically what happened was I'm standing there kind of staring to the north, and this view looking north right in front of the shed. And this thing, for lack of a better description, came walking right across through here. And,
Oh, wow.
he was heading more or less west. And there was a game trail back here that he was, apparently on. And then it veers around, and heads more to the northwest. And so he walked pretty much, you can vaguely see a tree trunk right here in the middle. He walked, past it and just disappeared from sight, because there's a lot of underbrush and whatnot. But
Now, what time of day was
basically
this?
there was it was early afternoon.
So it was
I'd
daylight.
been out
So,
there. Broad daylight. Yeah. Sunny day.
Wow.
And the thing is, it was just so weird because he did, I have a memory of him glancing in my direction. Okay. And then just walking on off, like I said, he went around to the northwest and disappeared in the brush up there. Well, I stood there for I don't know how long, just kind of mouth, what? Because
Wow.
it's just so weird. Okay, I do estimate him to have been about 8 feet tall. I do have that gender bias that says I will describe it as a him. I have no idea what the sex of it was, but I kind of assume it was a male, but I really don't know. But anyway, it was actually probably a week before I actually, got the nerve up to walk up there and just kind of see where he had gone. And one of the things I happened to see there was that, like I said, this tree that he walked by, and I saw him walk under this branch, and that branch was about 10 foot off the ground. And he didn't duck or anything. He just walked under it with a little bit of clearance and, off into the Never Land where he was going. And so, like I said, it was just it's one of those things, okay, that it's just so bizarre. It when you see it, it's just, you know, the mind, you see it, but you just, for me, it was one of those, I just essentially froze where I was standing, you know, for, I don't know really how long, presumably a minute or two. And, you know, basically after that, you know, went in, had a cup of coffee, you know, okay, now we get back to putting the shed back, the shed up. But, again, it's just very weird. It's very, what do I want to say here? It's so hard to describe kind of what you actually saw. Okay. And, I don't know. I just, okay. You know, I later found out apparently, Skamania County, where I live, is actually quite well known for Bigfoot encounters and sightings and things like that.
Wow.
And, so, I did not know any of that when I moved in. So it's, been one of those, just very outlandish and unusual, weird things that happen. And, I really didn't, talk about it for a long time, just because, you know, when I go to work, I was talking about work issues, and there's never really, you know, brought it up. It was just, you know, and, it was one of those things, again, because it's so fast. It's like, did you really see what you thought you saw?
Right. Exactly.
And
That's what I was going to ask you about. At nighttime,
yeah.
you know, we get the idea that maybe the shadows or the moon or the whatever played tricks on our eyes. But that's why I asked you if you saw this in the daylight like that. Even
well,
then,
you know,
your mind is going to mess with you.
Oh, it does. Because for some reason, okay, you know, this thing was pretty dark shade, but for some reason I remember him as having very, very orange highlights on him. Okay. And what that seems to be, and I noticed a comment there from Ms. Simmons there. Something weird does go on in that, even if you're not, quote, interacting, but there is something odd that happens. And what the orange seems to be, okay, and this was actually years later because I still see this like I'm watching it right now, okay, you know, in my mind's eye. And what it is, my mind wants to overlay this orangutan orange on this thing that otherwise, you know, because of the way it was moving and that kind of thing, apparently that's my mind's nearest match is, you know, something like that, and it wants to paint it a different color than what it really was, because it's actually fairly dark. And so again, there is something, what term am I looking for here? I don't want to say paranormal, I don't want to say existential. There is some interaction there, whether you think you're doing anything or not. Okay. So yeah, that was the main event. Okay. In the time since, I have not seen another one. I have come close to, I saw something, okay, one time, this is about 2014-ish. And what it is now at this point, this side of the house is all finished out and, you know, looks pretty and all, but this upper window up here, okay, the highest one you can see at the back of the house. Well, it happens to be 8 feet off the ground. Okay. And, the previous owner had a little kind of garden here, and they've got a climbing ivy here that keeps coming back, you know, highly robust plant, which is fine. But, then this was a night encounter, and it was, again, high bizarrety. All right. But, I was basically, essentially I was in my driveway. I was getting ready to drive back out to Baltimore, Maryland, where I was working a contracting job. And so I had the trailer on the back of my truck. And one of the things I do, amongst other things, I do have a Class A commercial driver's license. And so I wasn't driving tractor trailer at this particular point, but, you know, I just have the habit of looking at the vehicle, make sure safety chains are on the trailer, all the lights are on and working, you know, and I just do a walk around before I take off. Okay. And so that's what I was doing. Well, when I came to this side of the vehicle, so I could see up alongside the building here, you know, just like this, you know, where this is. Okay. There was something standing there looking in that window. Okay.
Oh boy.
And again, it was a very dark night. The only thing that was actually illuminating it was the clearance lights off the trailer, you know, and this thing was, you know, it turned and looked at me. All right. And again, I still see that, like that thing is still standing there. All right. I don't know where he went. I don't know what happened to him. Okay. But basically, I did the only thing a man in that situation could do. I turned around, walked around the other side of the vehicle, got in the car, and drove off.
Quickly.
That's serious. That's exactly what I did.
Wow.
Well, the way I describe it, I tend to think of it these days is, you really can't lose your mind just because, something weird happened.
Yeah.
Because by 2014, a lot of other strange things had gone on. And, it's one of those, again, it was just so outlandish that, okay, get in the car, drive. And that's what I did. And that, that was my reaction to it, because I do have some theories about what some of these things might be. And in which case, what I did was more or less instinctively the right thing, i.e. just leave.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I haven't seen anything, else like that. But over the years, I've had 2 instances of tracks appearing in the snow of unknown origin or destination. Going back to change pictures here just for effect here. Present.
While you're doing it too, Mike, Owen, we've kind of talked about, somebody brought up that little piece about casting a spell or putting some sort of, we've Mike Owen and I, we've talked about similar things like that before. What have you found in your research about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the running theory is that it uses infrasound, and those low frequency sounds that is below the level of hearing for humans, but still has a physiological effect on people. And we're sort of, we haven't evolved a whole lot, past the caves ourselves. So we're kind of hardwired to react strongly to those low guttural sounds to survive. And we know that they use that to stun prey. They've been seen doing that to stun deer and walk up to them and grab them and walk off with them. So there's a few different things that may cause that kind of an impact and even have effect later on. Headaches and nausea, those types of things too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's truly interesting. So is that beyond the realm of possibility? Absolutely not. That it could put some, when you say put a spell on you with those quotes like Linda did there, in a sense, yes. Why not? Well, it is possible because, like you said, with that infrasound, it could definitely, that even tigers and and animals like that would even do that as well. We saw the very good evidence of that when Bryce Johnson went and met in the zoo there. That kind of thing, even though you don't hear it, it still affects you in some way. So, good thing to mention there too. So. Thank you. Is this the picture? Yeah, it's back to that first one again.
What I was going to talk about real quick, before we leave the subject of infrasound, around here, I had a period of time, and it was actually several months, where I actually I thought I was developing what's called agoraphobia, i.e., fear of open spaces.
Oh.
Okay, and I did not want to set foot outside my door day or night. Okay, it was don't go outside. And it took a long time for me to realize that was going on. The other thing that while this was going on, it never dawned on me that, once I get away from the house, like I go out for groceries or whatever, because I had to, right? If I wasn't on the premise, I wasn't bothered by it. Okay. Just when I was at home. Okay. And it's very, very odd. And one of the things I did to combat that, in effect, and help me get over it, is I do have a set of noise canceling headphones. And what I did was I started wearing those when I went outside, and it made a huge difference. Now, again, I'm not aware of any actual sound at the time, but here I do get like unexplained vibrations, here in the house. which should readily be available, pick upable by the local seismograph, which unfortunately the nearest one is actually several miles from here. I did volunteer to host one for University of Washington, and they never called or anything. One of these fine days, time and effort, and part of the Sky 360 project, I will put essentially a seismograph type device and an infrasound detection system in, because like I said, until I actually hit on the idea of using the noise canceling headsets, even though like I said, I was effectively a prisoner in my own house, because I was just afraid to go outside, and there's no obvious reason for it. I mean, I wasn't seeing things in the tree line, I wasn't seeing anything, and I actually mentioned that to Tommy G, because apparently the gentleman out at Skinwalker Ranch was having a problem where just feeling of dread for no particular reason. And I passed that on to him. I don't know if they ever tried it and if it made any difference, for them. But my thinking on the reason that the headphones, noise canceling headphones help, even though they're not designed to go into those, subaudible frequencies, they're essentially a high pass filter. So they're gonna kill anything down on the bottom end anyway. And and like I said, it did make a difference. Now time has passed, and I no longer have that sense when I go outside. But for a while there, it was just the thing. It kind of, it's the kind of thing kind of creeps up on you, and just suddenly you're aware, you really don't want to set foot outside for anything,
Wow. And that's your home. I mean, that's one place you want to feel that's your sanctuary, your safe safe
exactly.
Spot. Wow.
Exactly.
Man, oh man.
And so like I said, it was really weird, because again, it wasn't like one day I was just afraid to. It was just it built and built and built and built, and it got quite intolerable. And like I said, when I tripped on the idea of using noise canceling headset, okay, and then whatever it was seems to have gone away.
Wow.
Okay, so I don't know if it was some active process somewhere causing that. In ways, I tend to think of it. Everybody's probably heard of something called the Tao's hum. Okay, rumbling or vibration that gets heard in various places.
Yes,
I have heard that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I have heard that right here where I'm sitting right now. Okay, over a few years back, and what it was, this particular, I've heard other variations of the thing too, and so on, but it sounded like there was a heavy truck just down at the bottom of my driveway where it runs into the main road out here. It just sounded like there was a heavy truck sitting down there. Okay. And this is going on for, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes. Now, logging is a thing around where I live. Okay. So, hey, they're always, out working and so on. Well, they're going to pull over right there because it's kind of a wide spot. Sure. But they're not going to sit there for half an hour, and so I, finally, what the hell's going on? I, walked down the bottom of the driveway, nothing, and I didn't hear anything drive off. I didn't see anything drive off through the trees there where the road is, nothing, just gone, and
so was this what the sound, was it a low pitched, like a diesel engine idling or something like that, or
it was a diesel engine idling is what I took it for.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. It just, it was one of those. Yeah. Oh, well, I see Miss Mora there, it is still around, even if people aren't talking about it very much, but, anyway, so that's, but, and I've heard some other things around here, which is why, so yes, it's, like I said, I do get weird vibrations in the house, some other odd noises that happen at times. And that's one of the things that I like about, one more shameless plug for Sky 360 is because it's a modular system, they already have, plans to integrate essentially a microphone in it, which is the kind of thing you can, get carried away with to any extent you want. And I'm planning to, get on there with, a infrasound detector or two, some regular microphones just to, do some listening and try to do some, triangulation, see if I can, determine where some of these things are coming from, but anyway, but getting kind of back to, tracks and weird things in the snow. getting back to this picture, if you can get you toss that back up there.
Yep, there we go.
There we go. Basically, on the north side of the house here. Okay, and again, the tree line was, all the way across here straight before I had to bring those down last year. Because of the overhang and the branches, when it snows around here, there'll be very little or no snow right there directly against the back of the house. There's roof overhang and then tree branches and whatnot. Well, one fine day, and unfortunately, I don't remember exactly when it was. I've probably been out here probably a couple, 3 years. There was a set of tracks that led away from the north side of my house off to the southeast, okay, across the yard, this open area, here in more or less the middle, and disappeared in the woods over there. Okay, now I only remember them being kind of human-sized tracks. For some reason, I seem to remember seeing what might have been like a boot print kind of thing in them. Okay. But what was strange about them was they started essentially right up against the north wall of the house and went across the yard and went nowhere. Okay. And there's no sign of anybody, any tracks anywhere around the house coming into that spot, where there's no inbound tracks. There was just outbound tracks.
Wow.
And that was it. And it was just very odd. Okay. Other than that, there wasn't anything that looked particular or peculiar about them. Okay.
Like it jumped off your roof and then walked across the yard.
Yeah, but there's no sign of anything on the roof either.
Right,
still snow on the roof, and I did look.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like bang here, you know. So
and then walk away.
Wow. And then just walked away. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I don't remember exactly when that was, but it would have been before the turn of the century. So I'll just say 95 to 97. I'll say 97 to 2000 actually. Because I have a little Suzuki Sidekick as a 97. I did have it at the time. So, somewhere between 1997 and 2000. So anyway, so it was, again, just very, very odd. And, but again, I didn't really think too much about it. But in 2017, I found some more tracks in the snow. And, let me bring them up. And these were actually, again, to the southeast of my house. They were still on my property. And that should be it. Okay, yeah. And what it is, unfortunately, when I found them, they'd actually been there for quite a while. All right.
Oh, wow.
And it melted out around them. Okay. And so the distance in this is about 150 feet. All right. And these little mounds right here, they look like something walked across them. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. So, and the thing is, if you think about it, something compressed the snow here in these spots hard enough that it stayed there while the other snow was melting away from it.
Exactly. I've seen that same thing happen before with human tracks. But what do you think's the span on those?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Let me get to that because it just happened. I went out there and measured all of them. Yeah. Well, by the time this happened, okay, I started working with some of the local Bigfoot investigators, people that had an interest in the subject locally, in the, Portland, Portland, Vancouver area. Right. And so what I did, just as a why not, mostly for the practice, because again, most of them are not wonderfully distinct, but I went out there and measured every one of them that I could find and tried to get a rough idea of the size. And put that up, there. Okay. So basically, this one more or less in the middle. It's about 20 inches long. It's about 5 inches wide across the front, and it appears that this was the front. And they narrow a bit at the back, and most of them are rounded off back there. But in terms of pictures that I got of them, this is about the best one of them. And again, you can see how it's compressed in there. On average, when I measured these things, they were typically between 5 and 6 inches across, depending on exactly where you measured, and typically about 20 inches long. Okay. And I actually recorded 7 tracks, 7 of these little bumps, and kind of the the other kind of important note on that previous picture, you notice there's no overhanging trees, so it wasn't, snowballs falling out of them or something like that.
No,
and
they're
they are
clearly
on a pretty good
tracks.
line.
No, they're clearly tracks. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. But the other thing, okay, and like I said, these tracks were coming, apparently, were coming from the southeast, heading to the northwest directly towards my house. Okay. Now, the other thing, though, that caught my eye about them is from the edge of the snow that was still on the ground at that point, okay, to the first track, the distance was about 15 feet. Okay. Now, these tracks, I measured them from the, what I consider the leading edge, there's a wider end, to the leading edge of the next track. The average distance there was about 10 feet. Okay. And there was, like 10 feet, 10 inches, 11 feet, 11 feet, 10, 6, and so on, between these different tracks. Okay. So, about 10 foot apart. Like I said, the track itself on average was about, 20 inches, long. And on the south end, from the edge of the snow, okay, to that very first track was 27 feet. I've got a little note, thing here that I took what the separation was and, the widths and so on. And so, like I said, I basically had 8 tracks, but only 6 of them actually I get decent measures off of. Okay. But, unfortunately, like I said, I didn't see them prior to, the snow melting back down, melting off and so on. So I don't really know when they were made. But anyway, it was weird, I give it that. And like I said, it means the snow was compressed enough that, essentially it crystallized into ice, from the pressure, much more so than the, melt and refreeze of all the snow around them.
Right. So, exactly. I've seen that same thing happen several times up in Michigan quite often. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And again, if it weren't for the sheer size of them, I'd just say the neighbor walked across the field, maybe coming over to the house, talk to me or something like that, but like I said, they are my neighbor's a pretty good sized guy, but I mean, his feet ain't that big. That's just all there is to it. And
I'm sorry, did you mention the span between each step? How much were you talking about the span between each step? What was that again?
About 10 feet.
Wow.
And what it is, I measured from the front edge to the front edge of the next track, and
stride,
and like I said, it was around 10 foot on average. Some I've got one like 11 foot 1 inch. I got another 10 foot 10 inch, but most of them are sitting right at that 10-ish feet, which, that's a hell of a span. Okay.
It is. And even for a Bigfoot, some of the pictures that people have shown of Bigfoot, a couple of different steps, they don't have that span. Now, if it was running, now a man can't reach that running, but you would imagine maybe a Bigfoot, if it was running, could definitely reach a 10-foot span between each step. Oh my gosh. Could you have that first one that showed the steps going across the field? Do you have that one again? Something I want to point out about that.
That's exactly what I was going back to.
Okay, because there's something I wanted to point out about that. And this is something that Mike Owen, you brought up before. And I think it was talked about on Expedition Bigfoot. Now, you see how those steps are generally in a line and they're not like, staggered side to side. They're generally in a straight line. Isn't that indicative of how supposedly a Bigfoot travels?
Yeah, it's called the straddle. So it's the distance, the distance left to right of the path. And Patty demonstrated that her footprints were. That's part of why in that Patterson Gimlin film, people always comment on she had an unnatural gait, and they think it's because she was walking in a perfectly straight line, which would make sense if they were used to using game trails to traverse, long distances and whatnot. So, that near zero or very very small straddle between the left and right span of where the left and right foot get is another good indicator. Repeatable.
But the other comment I would make about the tracks is that they appear pretty flat, which if you had a creature that size running, I would expect to see the toe dug in quite a bit more, when it lands there to take the next step. and you don't really, they're just very flat on top. So they really
Yeah, they
didn't
are.
look like it was running.
Yep. Yeah, it's very
Interesting.
true. Oh, hopefully we
I
haven't
think we lost Mike.
Mike.
Oh, I'm
Mike's
still
running.
here. At least
Oh, there you
There
go.
you
I
go.
think
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah, your video
Video
was
drop.
going around in
Yeah.
a circle there. We had a little circle going.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Very
know. It's
impressive. That's amazing.
but yeah, like I said, you know, when I found these, it was I think March of 2017. You know, because that's what the photos dated. You know, so anyway, it's just again, I didn't see or hear anything. But yeah, 4 foot maybe. Yeah, that's if he's really trying too.
Yeah.
You know, my personal span is about, you know, when I'm walking is about 30 inches. You know, so
Right.
I mean, and you know, I'm
If
not
I'm
quite 6 foot
trying
tall, I'm like 5'11".
Yeah, I'm right at 6 foot, and my strength. If I'm actually trying to measure distance, and I'm not running, but I'm just doing a walk across. It's about 3 feet, so I can figure about a yardstick for every step when I'm trying to measure a distance. I can generally get about 3 feet, and that's a pretty good step for me. So it's pretty wild.
Yeah. So anyway, so like
Very
I said,
impressive.
yeah, and like I said, I measured them all. I actually shot a video of me out there, measuring every one of them. I just planted the camera there. But like I said, the other surprising thing to me was, like I said, at the beginning and the end, the distance to the edge of the snow, and it's completely unmarked with any kind of track or anything. Like I said, in one case was 15 feet or so, and the other was like 27.
Wow.
And so where did it come from and where did it go?
Yeah,
right.
I simply don't.
That's not uncommon to hear reported too, is tracks that start and end, with not going anywhere. It's very difficult to explain. I mean, that's one of those theories that then people talk about interdimensional, and did it, pop in and then pop out to what we can see.
It's like it went through a portal or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and we talked about that. That was in the intro of the show, talking about how the thermal image just seems to like walk into, like it went behind a wall. Like Mike said earlier, during that, it's like walk behind a wall. So what is that? I mean, did they go into some, I don't know. I mean, that's just crazy. One of the questions you had on here for you, Michael, was were the tracks coming? And I think you might have mentioned this, but did they look like they were coming toward the house or away from the house?
Yeah, they were coming toward the house. They were, they appeared based on the wide end, to be coming from the southeast and heading towards the northwest. And up here, you really can't tell in this particular picture, but my house is actually just right up here beyond this line of trees here.
Okay.
And it was more or less heading, towards the house. So,
wow.
Now the other thing, I don't know if there may have been a game trail at this location at one time or not.
Maybe.
There hasn't been any sign of one in the time I've been here. Okay. The previous owners were actually running a small farm here, and I mean very small. I mean, I'm on 2 acres, so it's one of those. They had some chickens and the occasional other varmint of whatever type, cow or whatever, but it wasn't like any kind of mega, farming operation. And so this whole area, that's the reason this all appears to all been cleared, and I still come across pieces of fence and some stuff like that out there, but I've never seen anything to indicate there was an actual game trail there. But again, pre-existing, who knows? So
yeah, a lot of. I was just going back through some of the different comments here.
Yeah, I've got a question on that. On that first setting that you had, where it was right near your house. Did you hear it walking? Could you hear the footsteps? Hear or feel the footsteps?
Actually, consciously, I don't remember it. But I did have a regression hypnosis session on it, and I remember feeling them, from that. Okay, but my conscious mind, I see clearly what what I think I saw, but I don't remember actually hearing anything. And he was going through brush, he's going to be making some noise.
Yeah.
But I don't actually remember hearing anything or even feeling anything. But like I said, when I did that, regression for some folks, some of the researchers here in the Pacific Northwest, I do remember like 3 footfalls. And like I said, I was standing down by that garden shed, and where this was happening was, I don't know, 50 to 70 feet away, as far as where he passed. And in regression, I remember like 3, kind of boom, boom, boom. And this thing wasn't running or anything. He was, but he was
Right.
making, good space. So,
Yeah.
so yes, I remember it, but no, I don't remember. I guess is the right answer there. So,
Yeah. Wow.
It's a lot to take in.
yeah,
It is truly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, consciously, I don't remember it, but apparently, the mind did pick up on that kind of thing. So.
Yep. Yeah,
Anyway,
there's a question here for Miriam too, from Robot again. Do you believe that once a Bigfoot makes contact with you, they have the ability to make further contact in some way? That might be for any of us, actually. Yeah. What do you think about that, Mike or Mike?
Yeah. Well, I would go with yes. Okay. Only because, and I don't want to cut Miriam off there or anything, but even though I haven't seen another one, the sense I've had of things being around, which does happen occasionally around here, doesn't seem to be them either. But I think, my just sixth sense is that, they would be able to essentially find you again and make contact if they wanted to. So would be my take on it.
Miriam, what are your thoughts?
If they're maybe curious enough. I know the Bigfoot around where we are, it's possible that it could be a juvenile. It's probably an adult now. We're still having encounters, so it could be that it's curious about us and it probably maybe wants contact. Yeah, so I go with yes.
Yep. Somebody asked also, Craig Robbins asked a question for you, Mike. Was that, did you try to make any kind of communication?
No, I stood there frozen is what happened. I was just so, it was a startled response. I was just, again, it was just so off the chart kind of thing that I just stood there, and and again, as I mentioned previously, I did not actually go up there to, look where he was going until at least a week later. I just, and I'm still uncomfortable to go up in that part of my yard for no particularly good reason, but
yeah, I tell you though, that sense of fear, I've there's been times where, you get a little frightened over something or something scares you or startles you for a moment. But since I was a child, I have never had that full sense of absolute fight or flight fear. It happened, I don't know, probably about 3 months ago. It was a situation that occurred that something I was driving down the road and something hit the passenger side window of the truck very hard. It was raining very lightly and it was dark. It was at nighttime and something hit just the passenger window of the truck. And it was, if you can imagine taking like a wet beanbag and throwing it hard against the window. It did not break the window, but that thud, that smack and thud, it hit the window. And then at first it was just like, oh, what was that? And I looked over at the door thinking the window was probably cracked. But then right after that happened, this sense of fear settled into me that I have not felt since I was a child. Why? I have no explanation of why that fear sense grabbed a hold of me. I've never felt that since. I mean, it was for what reason? But something was telling me in the back of my mind, don't stop. Because I was tempted to stop and go see what it was and turn around and go back. But something was telling me, don't stop. Keep going.
I felt that
not
too.
Stop.
Yeah.
But I have never been gripped like that by that sense of fear in that way. I laugh about it now because it's like, I don't get scared by walking out in the dark, or whatever. It's just doesn't bother me that much. But why did I get that sense like that? For some reason, I don't know. And I was in a vehicle.
My comment, my comment on that, that second thing that I saw, okay, standing by the house, okay, and my reaction was just to turn and leave, okay, and in your case, it sounded like more or less the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
and,
that's what made me
and there, I believe in a phenomenon called body knowledge, okay, and that is your bod knows things, okay, and it can do things, and it'll get around to telling your brain and your mind about it later, The other, the other thing is that, for example, most people they think of fight or flight. They tend to ignore the third option, okay, which is common, which is you freeze, okay, and that's what I did when I saw the actual Sasquatch, okay. I just stood there, kind of, okay. Now I did learn to fly, okay, via the fight or flight response. One time I was in Southern California, first thing in the morning, okay, I'm walking down this little Jeep trail, and it didn't occur to me that there was not a rope laying across it, the day before. And so, I saw this rope, and I'm walking up to it. And I would have stepped on it in my next footstep, except it turned out to be about a 6-foot rattlesnake. Okay?
Oh boy.
Yes. Now, basically, I remember seeing him coiled up, rattle up, fangs out. Okay. I do not remember turning around. Okay. But like I said, I flew away from that. I didn't get bit. All right. And the thing is, at that time, I was camping out in a little an early '60s Ford Econoline van. All right, and it was parked way down the hill. Look, like that, right? Well, what I remember, like I said, I don't remember turning around at all. Okay, but that van went like this. Okay, and I'm reaching for the door handle. Okay, as far as I can tell, my feet only touched the ground like 3 times. Almost. Like I said, it literally just looked like this.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm reaching for the door handle.
Man.
Okay. So, like I said, I learned to fly that day. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
And again, that's that adrenaline fight or flight. But like I said, there's also the stand there. There's the walk away kind of thing, which, again, I think, in your case, Jeff, there, that was your bod saying, oh, just keep going. Do
not stop. That was, but it was like somebody was yelling that in my brain. Do not stop. Yeah. Keep going. Yeah. And I did. And I don't know what it was. I have no idea. Somebody thought it might have been like an owl that was found some prey and was diving for the prey, and I got in the way and it hit the side of the window. That's kind of what it sounded, but it was loud, and I thought it was broken. But you're right. And that you think about that freeze, and that goes back to that whole infrasound thing. Were you frozen in place? That could have been, absolutely could have been that. And he might have been, and again, I'm still on the fence about Bigfoot, but if it were, that might have been it saying, don't, stay there, don't do anything,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because for all I know, since it wasn't that long after I moved in, hey, maybe he was, like as Miriam has suggested, maybe you just check me out, right? I'm the new neighbor. See who I am.
Yeah.
But I still can't quite figure out the dogs. Okay. Because the other thing,
somebody asked for your dogs.
Even mountain lions. Yeah. Well, they weren't mine. No, I have no idea where they came from. I didn't hear anything moving in the brush. Of course, I wasn't listening for anything until the dog started barking,
Right.
But the other thing is, after the one that got whatever happened to him, they yelped really loud. Like I said, it was dead silent from the dogs. Well, if they're running away through the underbrush or anything like that, they're going to make some noise, and even mountain lions, okay, cougars, that kind of thing. They're not completely silent when they move. Typically, they're stepping on little branches and things. They are stealthier than most, but you still hear them. And it's just I did not hear a single sound in the underbrush from the point the dog started barking. And like I said, I don't really remember anything from when the Sasquatch went by. I don't remember hearing anything, but the dogs wherever they were, and if they were hunting dogs, where was the hunter? you know,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
My neighbor at the time only had one dog that I know of. So,
Yeah.
Interesting.
anyway, I see
Yeah,
Miriam's got a question there. So.
Yeah, Miriam had a question. Have you ever felt that kind of fear?
Oh yes, I have. There was a encounter. I was getting ready to put my garbage cans out for the garbage people, and I felt like something. I shouldn't be outside. I felt that. At first, I thought it was like maybe I just got done watching a movie that was kind of scary, and I thought maybe it was because of that. But it was. I thought maybe I'd heard a vocalization or something, but
wow.
I thought I was trying to like brush it off. But when I went outside toward where the garbage cans were, and I actually thought I heard something hiss at me, and that scared the crap out of me.
Wow.
That was pretty scary.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Okay, we're about ready to wrap this up. Mike Owen, do you have any other questions you wanted to ask of Mike or Miriam? I did have one last one for Mike. Actually, it was somebody asked. It's in the chat, and I wanted to ask Mike.
Sure,
about
go
it.
ahead.
Well, Mike, they said you've had the experiences with, with this Bigfoot that you saw, and then the footprints that you saw. Have you ever had any kind of UAP or UFO sightings or experiences out there?
Yeah, but not right here at the house.
Okay.
Basically, I've seen in the last few years, and this will be, I don't know, 2016 or so, 17.
Mm-hmm.
The southernmost highway in Washington State is State Route 14. It runs through a little place called Stevenson, which is Skamania County seat. And on the far side, coming both times I saw two different incidences. I was driving on 14 eastbound, and I was about 2 miles the far side of Stevenson. And the first one that I saw, what caught my eye about it was just kind of weird, mostly on but flashing white light. Okay, that was going passing from south to north. There's a ridge behind, from my vantage point, there's a ridge behind Stevenson, i.e. on the east side. And it was apparently going along that ridge, near the top of that ridge line. Okay. Very easy to just take it as a helo or something like that. It's just, being a fan of aviation, I'm familiar with most lighting schemes on aircraft. This wasn't one of them. Okay. So that's just the weird bright light at night kind of thing. Okay. Now, a year or two later, okay, the, same, more or less same setup. Okay. More or less same location and whatnot. I saw another fairly white, bright light. Okay. On continuously. I could vaguely make out apparently a diamond shape behind it. All right. And it was putting out enough light. It was lighting the top of that ridge. Okay. Same flight path though, more or less south to north. Okay. And, so, again, that one I have to take as, unusual enough that I would call it unidentified, so that was, again, it's just weird. It's several miles distance, but, the thing is, I actually came across on Sky 360's website, okay, on some of the footages they had, I saw exactly that quote UFO only flying over a city somewhere in Europe.
Wow.
But I mean, as soon as I saw it, I went, I've seen one of those.
And, I recognize that.
Yeah.
But
the other thing that has happened to me on a different stretch of State Route 14, as you go farther west, but it's this side of Vancouver, it basically goes up over a place called Cape Horn, which is this high rocky prominence, overlooks the Columbia River. And, at the time I was working in Vancouver, so I was, coming back and forth, every day. And one fine night, okay, I'm coming home. I was actually making about, I do not recommend this, okay, but I was making about 60 miles an hour, steady pace. And it's pretty winding, tight, that kind of thing. It was, summer, so there wasn't any problem with ice or, wet roads or whatnot. Okay. But for some reason, okay, a ride that normally took me about an hour took me 2. Okay, I got off work about 8 o'clock. In Stevenson, there's a clock on on the local bank branch. I got off at 8. When I went by it, after driving fairly fast, okay, it was 10 o'clock. Okay, I have
you lost an hour.
I lost an hour. Okay, and the thing is, I have a clear and contiguous memory of everything that happened. Okay, and the only thing that was weird, okay, and it wasn't that weird, okay, because you find a lot of guys out there with their, little hot rods wanting to run around, and I've done that myself, so I understand.
Me too.
But there was somebody following me quite closely. Okay, but I'd see his, headlights, behind it. I drive a little Ford Transit Connect. Okay, and so I can't see directly behind me because of the the body, but I can see his tail lights back there. He was back there pretty much the whole way. When it came out, there's a spot where 14 goes past Bonneville Dam on the Columbia River, and it's about a 2-mile straightaway. Okay, and of course the cops like to sit about halfway down there and just wait for people to stand on it a little bit. But this guy, whoever it was behind me, guy or gal, all right, they got just to where the start of that was, and they blew by me and right on down the highway. All right, that was the only unusual thing, is he was following me a little closer than those guys usually would. Well, that obviously, was it a car? Was it a bird? Was it a plane? Was it Superman? What?
That made me think of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, when that vehicle pulled up behind him in the truck and then went,
goes up.
I remember that.
Yeah, except it didn't do the vertical takeoff. Okay, like I said, whatever, like I said, it was just his car.
Oh man.
The thing is, when the guy blew by me, it was something like a Mini or something like that.
Right.
Okay. But like I said, most people will not follow you that closely, and especially not for 15 or 20 miles. But like I said, I remember the drive just fine. I actually wrote it up somewhere. I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but I actually just I was so amazed by it. I actually came home, little quick note said, "Here's what happened," and I did date it, but I don't know where that note is. So so I can't tell you what the date is at the moment, but or was, but also along that same stretch of highway. Okay, another really good weird one. Okay, I had some guy. All right, again, this is late at night. Had some guy apparently had himself a campfire going right at where a side gravel road came in, and he came running out across the road. All right, and it was a human figure. I took it for some guy had been out in the woods a long time. All right, except, like I said, he right out in front of the car. No stopping distance. I did lock up the brakes, but I went around him. Okay, and that was one of those where something told me do not go back. I didn't hit anything or hit him, but the thing is, there's no evidence. The next day when I was going back to work, I didn't see any sign where anybody made a campfire down by any of the side roads coming in. Nothing. So some strange things go on out, along that stretch of the road, and I've had a couple encounters like that I actually know about, and it makes me wonder, well, what don't I know?
But like I said, keep a clock by at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I usually wear a watch. I know they're out of fashion and all that, but like I said, until I came through Stevenson and saw the time on the bank clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy.
I had no idea anything weird had happened. Okay. Wow. And even now, want to think about it?
Yeah, nothing in your mind is weird happened. Yeah, that might be a good thing to go for the regression and find out if you have any missing, talk about that or something. Okay, we're about ready to wrap this up, folks, because we got some things going on with Skinwalker Ranch, but I do want to ask this one last question and just try to make it kind of brief from both of you. And this was from Seth Bound to ask this, and it was a really good question. And Seth is going to be co-hosting with me tomorrow night when we do Skinwalker Ranch. So that's Seth Bridges. He's going to be over there. His question was about your experiences. If I can, here it is right here. Have your sightings in your life been a positive thing or a negative thing? So it just says, have your sightings been a positive thing in your lives? Start with you, Miriam, real quick. What do you think? Or is it something that it has not been a positive thing for you?
I don't think it's been anything negative. We've not had any like bad experiences or anything, so probably positive. Or
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I would have to go with neutral because I don't really see anything particularly positive about them, but I don't really see anything negative either.
Right.
So that'd be my quick answer, and because I don't know. From that, thinking about it that way, no, I just have to go with neither one.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for sure. At least it didn't leave you with that, that fear. You said you've kind of gotten over it now when you go outside. There's, you're not really bothered by that too much. But still, some things like Miriam said about going out, to take to mess with the trash or whatever, and hearing that hissing. Somebody had brought up that raccoons do hiss, and I've heard that before. So, and I've seen raccoons in the little drains in the street, where you got the street drain for the water. And there's that black opening. Remember, what's that clown, it or whatever? Look,
Yeah.
But I've seen raccoons
Pennywise.
in those things before. So it's possible they could, and they do hiss. So I don't know, but still, when that kind of thing happens to you in the dark and you're by yourself out there, it rattles your chain just a little bit for sure. I would think.
It almost felt like it was up in the tree somewhere. So I don't
Ooh, that's even worse, right there.
Yeah, I know. So it might have been looking down, watching me or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, wow, yeah, definitely. All right, well, we're going to wrap it up, folks. I know we could go on and on, but we got a lot of people want to run over and jump over to the Skinwalker Ranch thing that's going on for the insiders right now. So we'll get it wrapped up here so we can do that. I tell you, Mike, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We might have to explore this a little bit deeper. Sounds like you've got some more, some more stuff you might want to talk about.
I got a lot of very weird things have happened around here. So, but those are really the highlights. But I'd be glad to chat with you about them some more.
All right, sounds good, and we're definitely going to have you
sometime
on
in the future.
360. Yeah, exactly. Miriam, thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you again. I mean, some people look like they have jumped out and joined your Facebook group, so there you go.
Thank you.
So we'll see you again out at Phenomicon this year for sure.
Yep.
And we might have to have you come and join us once more somewhere down the road. Mike Owen, thank you, sir, for being here, co-hosting again tonight and adding your expertise to everything. Really appreciate it. And folks, we thank you for being here with us tonight. Really appreciate everybody coming by and joining us for this little bit of a look at. We're going to do this again. We're going to have more people coming on with experiences so that we can kind of delve into it a little bit and hear their tale of this kind of thing, dealing with a Bigfoot experience, something I haven't had. One of these days, I might just do that. All right. So thank you for being here with us tonight. And don't forget, tomorrow night, we have Skinwalker Ranch. We're going to be talking season 4, episode number 1 tomorrow night. We got Seth Bridges is going to be co-hosting along with John Edwards, and that starts at 7:30 Eastern time tomorrow night. So until then, we'll catch you next time right here on the JFree906 podcast. Good night, everyone.
Night.